In JavaScript, the thing called this is the object that owns the JavaScript code. The value of this, when used in a function, is the object that owns the function. The value of this, when used in an object, is the object itself. When used outside a function or object, this refers to the global object. So this.document is the same as document because it's in the global object. And also, this in a web browser is equal to window. So if you do this.a and set it to equal 37, window.a is going to equal 37. Let's see that in the console. So see, true, true, and then 37. In a function, if the value of this is not set by the call, this will default to the global object. So for instance, this function returns this, and here the function is called, it returns this, and we find out that it's equal to window. We can see in the console that the function returns this and it equals to the global object. However, in strict mode, the value of this remains at whatever it was set to when entering the execution context. So, if we run this code, and you can see at the end we're going to have false. Now, this is going to be undefined. It's not going to equal the global object. Now I'm going to talk about the call and apply methods. When a function uses the this keyword in its body, its value can be bound to a particular object in the call using the call or apply methods. So let's see an example of that. We have this function, add, where we pass in C and D, and it's going to return this.a plus this.b plus C and D. So we're passing in the C and D, and then it's going to be drawing these from outside of the function. Here we have the variable O, which is assigned an object where A is set to 1 and B is set to 3. We're going to run the add function, and we are going to use the call method. The first parameter of call is the object to use as this, and the other parameters are passed in as arguments in the function call. So we are going to set this to O, and remember O has A set to 1 and B set to 3, and then we're going to pass in 5 and 7. So C and D become 5 and 7 here, and this becomes O. So let's add a console.log here. If we run that, we can see 16. That's just 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7. Now apply is almost just like call. The main difference is that call accepts an argument list, while apply just accepts a single array of arguments. So we are passing in the arguments as one array instead of a list. And you can see in the console we have 34. That's just the 1 plus the 3 plus the 10 plus the 20. Now the bind method. When you call the bind method on a function and pass in an object, it creates a new function with the same body and scope as the original function. But where this occurs in the original function, in the new function, it is permanently bound to the first argument of bind. This will make more sense with an example. We create a function f, and inside this function, we're going to return this.a. We are going to use the bind method to figure out what this is going to refer to. So here, we're going to create a new variable g and set it equal to function f, but we are going to bind the context of this, and we're going to pass in this object here where a is going to equal unicycle. So if we console log g, it's just going to return this.a, and we've set this and g to equal this context here where a equals unicycle. However, it's important to know if we create a new variable h and we try to do g.bind and set a to serial, it's not going to work. With G, we've already set the context to this. With this bind, you can't call bind again on something that you've already created with bind. Let me show that in the console. First, I'm going to comment that out. And you can see it's going to be unicycle once, unicycle twice, because it doesn't work the second time. Now let me explain these last two lines here. So we're going to create a new variable O, and we are going to set A to 8, F to the F function, G to the G up here, and H we're going to set to H up here. So look how this works. Console.log, we're going to console.log O.f. Well, O.f, well here's F, and F is up here, return this.a. Well, this is now going to refer to this context right here. So a is going to equal 8. Then we're going to console.log o.g. G has bound this to something else. G has bound a to unicycle. So instead of getting the a from here, it's going to log unicycle. And then we have o.h. It's not going to bind a second time, so it's not going to bind serial to h. So if we run that, we can see 8, unicycle, unicycle. So that equaled 8, this is unicycle, and this is unicycle. Okay, now we're going to see how this works in arrow functions. Let me paste in another example. With arrow functions, this is bound to the enclosing scope at creation time and cannot be changed. So the new operator, bind, call, and apply have no effect on this. So let's see how it behaves differently in a traditional function versus an arrow function. We have O here. Here's the traditional function where we're going to console.log traditional function this equals O question mark, and then we're going to see does this equal O, and then with the arrow function we're going to console.log arrow function this equals O, and then see if this is true with the arrow function, and then we're going to see if it equals the window here. So if I run this, after calling the traditional function and calling the arrow function and the traditional function, this does equal O. And you see that O is where this traditional function is at inside O. However, in the arrow function, this is not going to be equal to O, but this is going to be equal to window. That's true. The arrow function attached to O was created in the scope of window and run in the scope of O. So this arrow function is forever bound to the scope of window where it was created. Okay, we're going to talk about one last thing with the this keyword. When a function is called as a method of an object, its this is set to the object the method is called on. So look at this example. We have O, and inside O we have one property 37, and f is set to a function that's going to just return this.prop. So when we call O.f and we log that, you'll see it's going to log 37. Let's run that to confirm here. And you can see at the bottom we have 37 because this is going to be bound to the O object because the function is called as a method of that object. Now this behavior is not at all affected by how or where the function was defined. So we just added in this new additional code. We're going to set O to just have this prop that's going to be set to 23. See, here we had the prop and we had the function all within O. But now we have just the prop here, and then we're going to make the function independently. So in this function independent, we're going to return this.prop, just like we did up here, and we're going to set O.f to equal this function here. We're going to call the function just like we did before, and again it's going to just get the number 23. So this is just showing that it doesn't matter where the function was defined, it just matters that it's being called from within the object, so it's going to refer to the property within the object. Well, thanks for watching. My name is Beau Carnes. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, use your code for good.